Adrian cut his hair. No! Okay, remember the project is what did you do to your hair, Mary Foster? It looks different.
I tied it higher.
Okay, that's it. Natalie is back. Thank you for showing up, Natalie and Rebecca Serrano. Welcome. Okay, people, it's really nice to see all of you. I hope you realize this is like the second to the last class. So next week is, oh no, yeah. We're missing like 2 more classes, probably. It's the, yeah. We're missing like 2 more classes, so it's not a good idea for you to be missing classes at this point. So let's talk about your group projects. I'm gonna go group by group. Just tell me if you have been able to have any advancement with your project or if you're still stuck. Remember, the project is for next Tuesday. Next Tuesday, you have to send it to my email. It must be english@gmail.com. So let's go with the first group, which none of them are here. Daniel, Amir, and Mary. Okay. The second group, Dayan, Layali, and Angel. How is that working out? Dayan, Layali, Angel, tell me about your group.
We aren't we have don't do the video yet.
When are you gonna do that?
I don't know how to explain, but we are going to do a video like how you say ay, se olvidó me olvidó la palabra en español.
Okay, that sounds interesting.
I forgot.
Okay, that's okay as long as you have it by next Tuesday.
We have an idea of what we are going to do.
Okay, Mandisa and Eduardo.
Is she here, William?
Yes, I'm here. We have the video, but we have to edit.
Edit.
Yeah.
Okay. Genesis, Aranza.
Yes, we were talking yesterday about the idea about what we're gonna do, and yes, we're advancing.
People, you only have until Tuesday. Okay, then Sarah, Nessim, Rebecca.
I guess I'm the only one in the group here. So, okay, yesterday Sarah sent to me like the how do you say, the things that we have to say in the video, and she sent also like the kind of idea she has to make the video. So we are like working on it.
Okay. Natalie, Isabella.
Today we were talking about that, and we have a question. Do we have to use just one category, or we can use more than one?
You can use more than one. And Adrian and Mary Foster.
Okay, we already have the script of what we're going to say and what Adrian is going to say and what I'm going to say. We just have like to coordinate a day to film the video where we already have like the general idea and the script to the video itself.
Okay, good people. Please remember you have until Tuesday at midnight. That's next Tuesday at midnight. It must be sent to itmustbeenglish@gmail.com. Okay, so that's one thing. Second thing, some of you were missing one of your last grades. That Rebecca disappeared. Oh, there you are, Rebecca and Isabella. Which one of you watched the black and white movie?
I saw it, but not complete. I couldn't watch the end.
Okay, so until where you watched it, what was it about?
It was about this man. I think his name was Jerry. I'm not pretty sure. He did a crime. The officers think he shot another policeman, and he said he said that he didn't that he knew that he didn't knew who did it, and he fell in love with the nurse, and he convinced her to escape from the hospital because he was supposed to move from the hospital to another one.
Prison. Yeah, very good. So you, Isabella, how would you describe that nurse that he fell in love with? Do you think she was like spectacularly pretty? How would you describe her?
Can you repeat? I couldn't listen. I'm having a bad connection. Cable onda, as always.
How would you describe a nurse?
She was like in the 40s, a plain woman with a simple job as a nurse. She was simple, very
Okay.
simple.
Did you watch the entire thing, Eduardo?
I just saw the part where she take him, and apparently they drugged the officer with a cup of tea. I don't know if he fell asleep or he was drugged, and they tried to escape, but then I got out of time and came to the class.
Okay.
Teacher,
Yes.
excuse me. Genesis, Danielle, and Mary are having internet issues.
Yeah, everybody's having internet issues. Cabreonda has been the star of the pandemic. Besides, it's also written, so that affects. Okay, so what happened until where Eduardo Soto saw is that this handsome criminal fell in love with the nurse in the hospital and convinced her that she should help him to escape from the hospital, because after he got out of the hospital, they were going to send him straight to prison because of the crime that he committed. So she was not very pretty. She was just cara de calle. He wasn't so handsome either, but maybe let's say he was. And so they plotted that she was going to throw something in the police officer's tea, because there was a police officer always by his bedside watching him. And after the police officer got drugged, then they would escape the hospital. And that's exactly what happened. Now, when they got to the place, to the house where he had escaped to, there were other people there. And one of the men who were there wanted to kill her because he's like, oh, she knows too much, let's kill her. And then the guy who was in the hospital was like, no, don't kill her, she's one of us. And then another woman came up to him and started kissing him like, oh, honey, darling, you're here, blah, 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 blah. And the woman, the nurse, is like, wait, I thought you wanted to marry me. And then they start looking at her like, oh, please, you're so ugly, do you really think I wanted to marry you? And so she got like sad and walked out of the room. And when she walked downstairs, the police were downstairs waiting. And what she had actually done was to fake that she was in love with him, so the police could go to where he was to arrest him and the others who had also committed the crime. Okay, so this is an example of how one woman used her lack of beauty to help the police. Okay, this is in direct contrast to what Dorian has been doing throughout the book. Hello, Nassim, nice to see you. Okay, so what Dorian has been doing throughout the book is that he uses his beautiful face to do whatever he wants and get away with it. Now we're at the end of the book. We're going to analyze the 2 last chapters and then we're gone. Okay. I hope you've been reading. If you haven't, you should, but okay. What happened after what's her name? Sybil's brother kept following Dorian. And one day, Dorian was at somebody's place shooting birds because many centuries ago, people used to amuse themselves by shooting birds. And he saw something moving in the bushes and he suspected that it was Sybil's brother. And by some really bad luck, it turns out that the person who was shooting shot and killed Sybil's brother. Okay? So at that point, Dorian's starting to believe that, oh, no matter what I do, things are working out for me. So we're going to fast forward to the 2 last chapters, chapters 19 and 20. And what happens in this chapter 19 is that Dorian is having a conversation with Lord Henry. Now, if you remember, this entire mess started with Lord Henry. When Lord Henry convinced Dorian that he was so pretty that he deserved to be worshipped. So in having this conversation with Lord Henry, they start talking about all the people who have lately committed suicide or stuff like that, all of them because of Dorian. Lord Henry isn't saying that, but Dorian knows that it's because of him. And then they mentioned Basil. Now, you remember that in our previous class, Basil disappeared, right? That Dorian actually killed him and made his chemist friend disappear him. So they're talking about Basil, and Dorian tells Lord Henry, but isn't it possible that somebody just murdered Basil? And Lord Henry's like, no, nobody would do that. And Dorian says, what would you say if I told you that I murdered Basil? And this is the clincher of the entire book. Lord Henry looks at Dorian, at how beautiful he is, even though he is probably in his 30s, 40s, 50s, who knows, he's an old man. Not like 50s old, but in those days when you were 50, you look really old. And he still looks young. And so Lord Henry tells Dorian, no, you are too beautiful. You're too wonderful to be a common criminal. Okay? Now, everybody knows or suspects the things that Dorian has been doing. And still they're holding on to the premise that he's too beautiful to be a criminal. Dorian basically confessed to Lord Henry that he had killed Basil, and Lord Henry decided not to believe it because Dorian is too beautiful. Okay? Now, this is what society until this day is still based on. The fact that we decide if people are good or bad, if they're beautiful or ugly. So, ugly people get accused of crimes they probably didn't commit. In fact, I remember one time many years ago, I was a teacher in Cologne. And I don't know if you know, but when you're a teacher, usually the schools give you pens, pencils, paper, eraser, markers, stuff like that, okay? So this teacher, she was not pretty at all. She was really nice though, really nice, but she was not pretty. And she had in her bag, her purse, all the pens and pencils and markers that the school had given her. And she was at a supermarket shopping. So when they saw her, because she was not even this pretty, not even this pretty. She was not pretty, but she was really nice. When they saw her in the supermarket, immediately the security guard thought that she was a thief. And they approached her and opened her purse. And inside her purse, they found all the pens and pencils and new markers that the school had given her. And they said, we knew you were a thief. All of these things, you stole it from us. And they wanted to arrest her. And she had asked to call the school. And the principal of the school had to go down to Super 99 in Cologne. And with the receipts that the school had bought all of these things and that she was a teacher at the school. And that's why she had all these pens and pencils and markers in her purse. Now, this is not uncommon, people. This is not uncommon because that's the way society has been brainwashed. If you're ugly, you're going to get accused of a crime. And even if you commit a crime and you're not ugly, people are not going to believe you, which is exactly what's happening with Dorian Gray. So that's chapter 19. Now, Dorian starts feeling a lot of remorse for the things that he has done, for all the people whose reputations he has damaged, and for all the people who have killed themselves because of him. Okay? And in feeling remorse, and I don't know how many of you have ever felt really, really guilty, but it bothers you constantly and you start feeling physically ill. So he decided that maybe he's not such a bad person because a few days ago he had the opportunity of taking advantage of a young girl and he didn't do it. So then he uses that one occasion to think that, oh, I'm not such a bad person. I do good stuff. I didn't hurt that young girl, so I'm not that bad. And that's the conversation he's having with himself. But of course, the feeling of guilt are so huge that he decides to go into that schoolroom to destroy the painting. Now, my question to you is this. What was he trying to do by destroying the painting?
Erase the idea that he was a monster.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else?
Like to get rid of his past.
Mm-hmm. One more person?
I don't know, maybe he take like the picture, like the representation of everything that he does in a bad way, so that's why he wants to destroy it.
Perfect. But ladies and gentlemen, was the picture the problem? No, the picture wasn't the problem. Even though the picture was getting old and the picture was showing all the signs of evil, all the signs of aging, all the signs of the corruption that he had done, the picture was not the problem. Okay, so if Dorian really wanted to change, what should he have done? Was it possible for him to have any type of forgiveness for all the wrong things that he had done?
He could confess like the crime and I don't know, go to the jail maybe.
Okay, so he could have confessed and gone to the police, right? Okay, what else could he have done to make things right? Because he committed a lot of crimes and he destroyed a lot of lives. What could he have done as atonement for all the evil things that had happened in his lifetime? Rebecca says he could have gone to the police and turned himself in. What about the rest of you? What do you think? Would that have been enough?
I think he should apologize to people, like to apologize for what he did.
Okay. But what about the people who kill themselves? Because even, I mean, you can't apologize to dead people. Was there any way that he could have made that better? No? Yes? No?
I think that after what he did, there was no way back. Like he was a bad person and there was no way to change that, to change the past. He could start acting better from the present moment, but he couldn't change everything that he had done before.
You know, and that's an extremely interesting point, Moises, because then what's the point of putting people in prison?
Make them like, I don't know. It's like keep them away from the people that they can hurt. For example, if you're a serial killer and you're in prison, you are not able to kill like as much people, you know.
Okay, good one. What about the rest of you? What do you think? What's the point of prison if it's not going to atone for all the evil that the person did? People are disappearing from my screen every minute. Okay, who's talking? Natalie, go ahead.
Isabella says she's having problems with the internet.
Yes. So who wants to answer my question before we continue to the end of the book?
Which was your question? I want to hear it. Sorry.
If prison is not enough, because you can't go back in the past and change the things that have done, then what's the point of putting people in prison?
It's like giving attention to a little kid. It's like, go and think about the bad things that you did, and they just put you in a corner. That's basically prison. Going to the corner until I say you can leave. That's the way I see it.
Yeah. But what would be a better alternative? Because prison obviously doesn't work, because a lot of criminals come out of prison and go back and commit crimes. What would be a better alternative?
Therapy.
Okay. Therapy. What else?
Torture.
Torture. Oh my goodness. What else?
There are prisons in other parts of the world where they teach the prisoners to make things in order for them to have a job and good life, correct life.
Okay. Yeah, they do that here too. Where do you think the license plates come from on the cars? They come from prison. But yeah, but it does not guarantee that the person is going to change their life. The thing is this. Dorian thought that because he did not defile one young girl, that should have been enough for his conscience to feel better. But it wasn't. And so he went into that room with the picture of himself, hoping that because he had not hurt that one girl, the picture would have changed. That's what he expected. But when he walked into the room and looked at the picture, what do you think he saw? Do you think the picture had suddenly changed and gone back to what it was? Of course not. And that also shows us that when we do things, good or bad, they leave an impact or a mark on our lives. Not only the lives of other people, but also our lives. Thing is this, he took up the knife, the very same knife that he had used to kill Basil, and he looked at the picture, and to him the picture was making fun of him, like, so he decided, oh, you're gonna make fun of me, I'm gonna destroy you. And he took up the knife and stabbed the picture. And what do you think happened? Oh, come on, people, play with me. What do you think happened?
The pain get worse.
The painting got worse? Okay, who else?
He died.
I don't know. Are you gonna talk?
What were you gonna say, Soto?
I think it is like a voodoo thing. Voodoo, like he caught it and he died at the same time.
Okay, remember that the picture was simply a reflection of himself. And even though to everybody else he looked like this beautiful young person who never grew old, all his actions were having an effect on him. That's the reason why even if you do bad things and you hide it from everybody else, eventually it's going to show up, because that's how life is. So he took this knife and he stabbed the picture of himself in the heart. And then the servants downstairs heard a scream. When they ran up to the room, they saw Dorian. Well, they saw a very old man lying on the floor with a knife in his heart. It wasn't the young person that they had come to expect and to see. He became a very old man suddenly. What does that mean? What's the symbolism? What does that represent? Think.
Maybe finally all the ugly things and all of those things, bad things he had inside, finally came out and revealed themselves, like the true form of Dorian Gray. That's why he was old.
Yeah. And so the only way the servants recognized him was by looking at the rings on his fingers, and they could see that, oh, this old ugly dude is actually Dorian Gray. Okay. The beauty of Dorian Gray seems to have been a figment of people's imagination. And people were so willing to hold on to this concept of beauty instead of seeing Dorian Gray for who he really was. Now I want three of you to tell me what would have been a different ending for this book. That's how it ended. What would have been a different, better, different ending for this book? Three of you, quickly. Because apparently he didn't pay for his sins. Who wants to go? Who was talking? Aranza.
Maybe another ending could be if somebody discovers the painting and reveal to all the people, so all the people start hating him.
Okay, another person.
Since he was pointing the
Eduardo, go ahead.
yes, since he was pointing a finger at everybody, instead he could like accept it and at least feel vulnerable and do something good for his life, because all that was pointing everyone, oh, it's your fault, it's not my fault, being the martyr. And maybe accepting it, it could be different. It would have been different.
Okay.
Like, okay, I'm gonna change, I'm gonna do better. But
yeah. Adrian?
So yeah, it was going to be something like that. Like Soto said, that he realizes that the painting is not going to change, but he realized that he can do better and he can change for himself. Like the picture represents something, but it doesn't mean he is the painting itself. So he just goes into like a life-changing experience, helping people and stuff like that.
Okay. So when he stabbed the painting and he became the old guy, do you think the painting became the original, the young person that he was when it was painted? It was like an exchange. Botello, talk to me.
Yes.
Very eloquent, very eloquent. Okay, tell me your thoughts, Botello. I need to hear your thoughts.
Well, all this time, Dorian has haven't been receiving all this aging and decaying of his personality and his soul, let's say. And the painting have been receiving that. And for me at least, this thing that the beauty of Dorian Gray was a kind of collective, imaginary collectiveness, or something like that. It truly speaks about not beauty, but some charming personality or something. Because it will be an approach, a really good approach to see this contrast, because of the magical stuff that it's kept going on for him to stay young and pretty all his life. But someone somewhat charismatic could truly fool other people in the same manner, and people will still believe that he's actually a good person because he's charismatic, and that's a really nice thing that happens. And actually, charismatic people tend to, they not tend to be bad, but bad psychopaths or something tend to be charismatic.
Narcissists.
Yeah, tend to be charismatic. So it will be a really good approach to the really common stuff. So I picture this like the painting and Dorian and everything else was just like a kind of a metaphor of this particular case, this particular scenario. Okay. And that's why he actually was he actually looks so old and so decayed, and the painting should have to stay the same because the painting will represent the perception of the world, that now it's the only thing that remains of Dorian because he's now dead. So the old man died and the perception of other people is still the same, and that stuff.
The sad part of the entire thing is that somehow I don't think personally that Dorian Gray paid for all the evil things that he did. And because a lot of times we think that, oh, death is the payment, but no, we don't know what death is. It's probably like going to a party. We don't know. So I don't think that him killing himself And he wasn't really trying to commit suicide. He was trying to get rid of the painting because he felt the painting was mocking him. I don't think that his death was punishment for all the things that he did. I think that he should have been punished. But if he had been punished, then the book would have been extremely predictable that he went to trial and blah, 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 and he's in prison. Prison isn't the punishment either. There had to be some other type of punishment for Dorian Gray to feel the weight of all the evil things that he did. Prison isn't really punishment, it's just torture. And sometimes torture isn't punishment because it doesn't make people stop and think and say, hey, yeah, what I did was wrong, let me change. It doesn't. Okay, so my last question to all of you before we go, because some of us are hungry. My last question to you is this. Tell me one important lesson, each of you, quickly, one important lesson that you grasped from this whole Dorian Gray story and his interaction with his painting, what happened to Basil and Lord Henry, Lord Henry's influence on him. Because we could also spend a lot of time arguing that everything was Lord Henry's fault. Because he took this young teenage boy who was very vulnerable and he drummed poo into his head and actually ruined his life. But that's a whole different story. Okay, each person, one important lesson from the Picture of Dorian Gray.
Maybe one of the basic ones is do not judge people by his appearance, because people could be more than what we expected.
Definitely. Next person.
Not always the beauty means goodness.
Not always beauty means what? We can't hear you. We see your hair. Oh, there you go.
Not always the beauty means like the person are good, is good.
Okay. So beauty doesn't mean that the person is necessarily good. Good one. Next.
Me.
Betty. Oh, the girls whose forehead we always see. Hi.
That not everyone around us brings something positive to our life.
Good one. Good one, Mary. Next.
Maybe think first about the things we are going to do and don't do it because con impulso.
Impulsivity.
With impulsivity.
Yes. Good one, Layali. Who's next?
Me. Don't trust always what you see don't trust the things that you see. You have to see inside of the person too. Okay?
Yeah. Who's next? Lessons based Henry. Yes.
Don't let yourself get influenced by other people.
Definitely. Good one. And especially adults, because a lot of times we think like, oh, adults are always good and they're always wise. There are a lot of really dumb adults. In fact, I hope none of you are taxi drivers or families taxi drivers, but look at what they're doing. That's just dumb. That's a whole different story. Next. Come on, people. Basil, Lord Henry.
Teacher, can you hear me? It's raining, so I don't know if you can hear me. Okay, so I don't know why, but this is one of the things I think it's important that sometimes it's okay to ask for help.
Good one. Good one. Yes. Who's missing? Come on, people. I'm hungry. We ain't got all day. Who's next? Lessons. Yes, go ahead.
Someone's advice is not always like a good advice.
Yep, definitely. Who else? One more person?
I have one.
Okay.
Maybe everything in excess has a consequence.
Okay. So are you saying like it's not good to be too beautiful?
I mean that if you decide to be like paying attention to one thing too much, you can have consequences.
Okay. And what about if you are the person who is so pretty, so beautiful that you can get away with murder? How should you manage that? Because being pretty is not a sin. You just need to know how to work it. How can you maintain a balance if you're the extremely beautiful person who everybody thinks you're an angel and you do whatever you want and nobody never have any consequences? How do you balance that? Who wants to answer that?
You have to keep your feet on earth. Like maybe people will think, like, hey, that person is someone I want to follow. That person is someone beautiful. That person maybe has a perfect grades and a perfect personality. But you have to know that not all what people say you have to believe it and put it as the most important thing. You have to know that you are a person too, like everyone else. You have to work on what is your feelings and not everything in your physical thing.
Okay. When you have this type of situation where you're so irresistibly beautiful, it gives you a lot of power. And you have to figure out how to use that power in a good way. If we take a look at many of the people that we call celebrities or influencers or whatever it is you're calling them these days, they have power. A lot of them are not using that power positively. They're using the power to destroy other people. In the case of Dorian Gray, Henry had a lot of power. And he used it negatively on Dorian. He passed all this power to Dorian. Then Dorian had a lot of power, and he was too immature to know how to use it positively and ended up destroying the lives of everybody around him and his own life. So beauty, intelligence, whatever gives you power. You have to, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, if you're really pretty, good for you. That's wonderful. We love you. If you're really intelligent, kisses and hugs to you. But you have to know that you have power and you have to know how to use that power in a good way. You cannot go around destroying people and you cannot go around destroying yourself. In my opinion, Dorian Gray did not get punishment for what he did. But in real life, a lot of people get punished for the mess that they create in other people's lives. I think the worst thing could be to get one of those diseases that you know you're going to die and every day you're in pain and you pee and you poo blood and there's blood coming out of your ears and your nose and your mouth and your eyes. I think that could have been punishment. That kind of diseases that, that would have been good. Bottom line is this, ladies and gentlemen, everybody has power. Whether it's because of your grades, your intelligence, your skin color, your height, your weight, whatever, everybody has power. You need to figure out how to use that power to your advantage, but without destroying other people. Okay? That's extremely important. Good. Now, this is what's going to happen. Next Tuesday, remember, all of those little videos need to be in my inbox at itmustbeenglish@gmail.com before midnight. This is what I want you to do. When you send me that email, I want you to add to it what is a grade that you think your work deserves. That's one. And secondly, what is the appreciation grade you think that your work deserves? Two things. Okay? What is the grade? And it can be individual or group. If you want to do individual, that's perfect. Write everybody's name and what grade they deserve. And what appreciation grade individually you deserve. One more time. When you send me your little video on Tuesday, send me a nice little note saying, this is the grade that we think we deserve, and John, Mary, and Peter think they deserve this appreciation grade. That's extremely important. If you don't send it, I'm just going to invent stuff and invent grades, and you're not going to like that. Okay, people, any questions? Any questions about your project? Ask me one question about your project. Nobody has questions? Okay then. Should we take a picture? Nah. We're going to save the picture for next time. See you next time, folks. Bye. Be good.